afternoon, everyone. My name is Massimo Malone. I will be your news host for this segment, and today we'll be covering an environmental disaster. Today we'll be uncovering specifically the scars left underneath the waves. While the oil on the surface has long vanished, the biological fallout continues to have reshaped the life for the inhabitants of this specific area. This area being the Gulf. I want everyone in the audience right now to imagine running a marathon with the only way to breathe is to be through a straw. So you're running a marathon, you have a straw in your mouth, that's the only way you can breathe. And you're going to think this is quite difficult. That is a difficult thing to do. But this difficulty of breathing to that extent is something that predatory fish in the Gulf experience regularly after the Deepwater Horizon incident. Today, we'll be looking into the ecological disaster and the after effects that happened because of it. Before we hop into the meat and the potatoes of our newscast here, I want to give you guys a little background of the event that is Deepwater Horizon. So it happened on April 20th, 2010, which is 16 years to date as of now. And this happened because the Macondo well malfunctioned, triggering the largest oil spill in history. And it caused a lot of backlash to the environment. Roughly 134 million gallons of crude oil were released into the aquatic ecosystem. This led to a record-breaking $20.8 billion settlement for the damages, and there's a lot of other things that happened ecologically that will affect fish whenever it happened and will continue to affect fish for a very long time. One of the main culprits is something called PAHs, or polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. They do not dissolve easily and can linger in an environment for decades. You might be thinking, how do these PAHs affect a fish? How does the oil move from the water into a living creature? It attacks the body's most vital systems. It attacks their heart, the liver, and the gills. And for the biological impacts, some of the studies we looked into to make this newscast for you is all the things that these PAHs affect. One of the sources that we looked into looked at large predatory fish, like bluefin tuna and amberjack specifically. And they suffered from cardiotoxicity from these PAHs. They block the flow of potassium and calcium, and then it causes more issues like bradycardia, which is a slow heart rate, and arrhythmia, which is a regular heart rate. As for some fish at the bottom of the ocean, we looked at an into study on the southern flounder, which lives in the Gulf, in the marshes, and this study, they took fish from there, and they got oil concentration similar to what was happening inside the area of those marshes. And they tested these fish, and their liver got so overwhelmed with trying to detoxify the oils and PAHs that the fish lost their appetite and died from malnutrition. The stuff is bad. And who better than an expert himself to explain exactly what's happening with these PAHs? Hi, I will be your guys' marine biologist. I am an expert in the field. And as our wonderful host was stating before, these polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, which is always a tongue twister, are causing a plethora of problems to the wildlife inside the Gulf. Here's a graph that displays how much quality relative to each of these points represents the lowest concentration where a significant biological problem was discovered in a specific scientific study. What does that mean? See, this X graph on the coordinate plane here measures the micrograms per liter of PAHs inside the water, which is the concentration of the oil inside the water in layman's terms. And all these issues are displayed on the left here. And as you can see, at a very small concentration of PAHs in the water, it has been found that all these issues can occur, and they occur throughout, and it increases typically as the amount of PAHs increase. But as you can see here at the very start, it takes a very small amount to cause these issues, and this is some of the portions of the Gulf have this amount inside of them. For example, different measures throughout the entire Gulf have found anywhere from 0.05 milligrams per liter to up to 1 milligram per microliter, which brings us to the start of the graph here, and you can see this causes these problems like swimming performance, and this is where it ties back to what your newscast was saying previously. It causes all these heart issues, and we have other measurements that we've seen that results from these heart issues that's leading to death and permanent issues with these fish. They get disshapen hearts. They get irregular heartbeats. And whenever they have all these heart issues, blood can't regulate and flow throughout the body like it's supposed to, so they slow down. And this has been measured with things called the Eucrit test. They've roughly slowed down 20 to 33% when exposed to these PAHs than when they were not. And this makes it so they can't hunt for prey, so they start not being able to get their daily needs. Thank you for having me. What a smart fella. All right, everyone, I want us to come out of this knowing that Deepwater Horizon, the disaster, wasn't just something that happened 16 years ago in 2010. It was a permanent shift in the way that oceans are. A lot of oil was released, and it has changed the lives of a lot of fish that live in these ecosystems. For example, the misshapen hearts of the mahi-mahi, the stunted growth of the flounder, and other beneathic fish. The takeaway is simple: we cannot measure an environment disasters solely by the oil we can see, right? A lot of the surface oil and a lot of the oil from the actual spill is gone, but it's still there, and we need to think about how it will change our ecosystem. Why should you care? Because fish that can't swim and can't eat is a food system that will fail us all. If all the fish we eat die or are full of oil, this will affect us directly. I am Massimo, and I wanted to thank you for watching this news report. Have a good day.